I think we can all relate that there has been some place in time, a part of our experience, to where we feel like we don't belong, to where we're trying to find our way, to where we are showing up to make connections, living, breathing connections, not for social status, but connections that are deeply connected to our nervous system, connections that represent a fundamental need of our well-being, of our health, connections that live in the body and not just the mind. It is imperative that we find our way back to these type of connections if we have lost touch, and if we don't know the difference between body-based connections, connections that are deeply resonant with the nervous system, that help regulate our systems, because relationships do regulate our systems. If you can imagine the bond between a mother and a daughter, a father and a daughter, that parental relationship. But then you have the sibling relationship. And these are all body-based connections that exist in nature. However, if we take a step beyond the blood ties, while still maintaining the current of vital connection that is deeply connected to the body, deeply connected to the nervous system, a healthy functioning nervous system, then there are still relationships out there that carry the same frequency, whether they are business relationships, partnerships, creative partnerships. Today, I want to highlight those kind of connections and challenge all those watching, all those listening, all those tuning in to learn how to distinguish connections that live in the mind, connections that one may be projecting into the atmosphere, connections that we want to create, which have their place, versus the connections that are deeply body-based, somatic connections, nervous system connections that help us ground into our body on a greater level. For some, this is our therapist, massage therapist, body worker, the one doing our hair, the one painting our nails. I challenge you to be able to call these connections out, and even those connections that are not yet present and that hasn't come into physical manifestation. I challenge you today to study yourself, study your body, study your needs, so that you can navigate your relationships with greater intention and value the relationships that you have that are sacred in nature. May not always be what you want. It may not be aligned with what you want to create, but cherish and preserve those connections, those relationships that are deeply somatic in nature, that work to stabilize your nervous system, And pay attention to how your relationships, how your connections influence your nervous system. Observe the tone of your nervous system. What energetic value do your connections and relationships add to your life? And when I say your life, I don't mean the part of your life that is purely aesthetic. I mean your life force energy, the underlying current that is you. So that is the message for the day. Find your connection.